guys, welcome to your mat Pilates session for today. We're going to be working through our glutes and into our core. So you're not going to need anything, just your mat. And as always, well done on making some time for yourself today, but please listen to your body throughout this session. Take the options that are going to work best for you. And just making sure if anything doesn't feel right that we stop, we take a break and just see how you go joining back in, and always seek medical advice if something doesn't feel right before joining back in. So let's get started in a 4-point kneeling position. Our hands are going to be underneath our shoulders and our knees are going to be underneath our hips. Now we don't want any loose core here. We really want to draw our core in and engage our core and lower abdominals here. We're just going to find some cat-cows just to warm up through the spine here. So we'll lower down to the mat, arch our back, eye gaze up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to round through our back, and our eye gaze will come through to our knees. And just take this as slow or as fast as you need. You may feel like you need a little bit of a pause in one of the positions. Inhale as your eye gaze comes up to the ceiling, and exhale as we look towards our knees. And we're just going to go through one more movement here. Inhale, exhale, and finding our neutral. So our neutral is going to be somewhere in between those two movements. So we don't want too much of an arch or too much of a round. We want a nice straight spine. And imagine I'm pulling a string from the tip of your head through to your tailbone, so we are long and extended. Your right leg is going to come back behind you and your left arm out in front of you. With your abs and your core engaged, we're going to lift and lower. Lift and lower. Now I'm getting straight into testing that stability here. It's been a little bit since we've done anything in our 4-point kneeling. Each time we're lifting, we want to make sure that those hips are staying in line with each other, and that they're not all rocking all over the place. And we're also only lifting up to our hip and our shoulder height. So we're not lifting up and having a round or arch into our back. It's just staying nice and neutral, and we're lifting up to hip and shoulder height. We've got 2 more here before we hold up on this next one. We're going to reach our arm and our leg out laterally to the corners of our mat, and then bring them back to center. Out to the corners of our mat, bring them back to center. So as we're moving laterally in our 4-point kneeling, we're starting to engage that side waist as well. Breathe through it. Now if it's too much here, you could always sort of lower down one of your limbs, either your arm or your leg, and just focus on one at a time. Let's go for 5 more here. Breathe through. We've got 3, 2, 1. Hold in the center, and we're just going to hold here. Seems like such a simple move, but it really tests that balance. Eye gaze looking down towards the mat, so we keep that neutral spine. Let's hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lowering down to the mat. Find your child's pose and just give those wrists a little bit of a shake out here. Coming back up to your 4-point kneeling, we're going to get stuck into our glutes here. So you may choose to stay up on your wrists, or we actually can do this down on our elbows as well and give those wrists a little bit of a break. We're going to stick to the right leg being extended behind us. Engage your core. Push up and out of your shoulders so we're not slouching down here. We're just going to come into some lift and lowers here. Now our core should be warmed up. And we've also warmed up into our shoulders because we are going to be working into all of those stabilizing muscles as well. And what I really want us to focus in on is just that this is a nice, slow and controlled movement. So the movement is coming from our hip joint. We should be feeling it in our core and our shoulders, and also starting to feel it in our glutes and our hamstrings. We're going to go for 3 more here. Last 2. And I want you to hold it up. And I just want you to pulse it out here. Just going to pulse it out for 10, 9. Slow and controlled pulses, no bouncing here. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold up, and let's just hold it there. Again, it seems so simple, but we're really going to start feeling that burn straight away. Check in with your core, make sure it's engaged. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw it back in, come up onto your hands. Now for this one, it is going to be much better to be up on our hands. Our right leg is going to extend out behind us. Lifting it up, we're going to tap it over to the right side, and we're going to lift and sweep over to the left side. Tap up, sweep to the right side, up, sweep to the left side. So imagine that with your leg, you're painting a rainbow from one side of your mat to the other side of your mat. And we're trying to keep that core engaged and switched on. A little bit of movement side to side is going to occur, of course, because we are moving that leg laterally. But we don't want to over move or allow movement through those hips and that core. Slow and controlled. We've got 3, 2 more full rainbows. You've got this. Last one here. Bring it to center, lowering back down. Now for this one, I'm just going to swap sides so you can see what I'm doing here. We're still working through that left leg. The right elbow is going to come down onto the mat, and we're going to use the left arm as a little bit more of a support here. And in our right arm, we are going to have a slight bend in it as well. We're going to extend that right leg long, point your toes, but it's not going to be right behind us anymore. It's going to be out to the corner of our mat. And we're just going to continue to lift and to lower here. By coming down onto our elbow, we just allow for a bit more of a range of motion throughout this movement, and we also have a little bit more of that stability here as well. Now with your eye gaze, you might prefer it looking down towards the mat or out to the right side. It sort of just depends what's going to feel best for you and your alignment. Core is still engaged, and left stabilizing leg is definitely going to be feeling it and starting to shake here as well. We've got 5 more. Breathe through it. 3, 2, hold it up here. We're just going to hold. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw it back into center. Take a moment to catch your breath. Engage your core. Point that toe. It's going to stay in a bent knee position. And we're going to come into our fire hydrant out to the side here. So we are now starting to work into that side glute a little bit more, targeting all of our glute today in this series. And also you might be starting to feel it into your obliques, which is totally normal as well. Even though we're targeting those glutes, we're working our core, we're working our shoulders, because all of it is helping us to stay in this stabilized position. So we're gonna go for 5 more here, and then we're gonna combine those 2 movements. Last 3, last 2. We've got 1. Extend that leg to the corner of your mat, bring it back in and lower your fire hydrant down. Lift your fire hydrant. Extend that leg to the corner of your mat, draw it back into your hip, lowering it back down. So now they're combining those 2 movements together. I'm definitely starting to get my sweat on here. Whole body is starting to feel the shakes. Let's go for 5 more. I know it's burning. You've definitely got this. Is your core engaged? I just had to check in on mine. We've got 3. We've got 2. We've got 1. Extend it out and hold. Little leg circles here. I promise we're almost at the end here. The leg circles are moving from the hip. Stabilizers are really starting to burn. Let's go for 3, 2, 1. Draw it back in with control. Allow yourself to rest back down in your child's pose. All right, now we're not quite done for that glute yet. Come down into your side lying. We're gonna have a little bit of a rest from our 4-point kneeling. But we are going to find our clam, so it's not quite a rest. You can either rest onto your shoulder or up onto your hand. It's really just going to depend what works best for you. Knees are going to be bent, feet are in line with hips. Core is engaged and lifted off the mat a little bit. So we're not slouching down into our mat. Everything is still engaged and helping us with these clam movements. Heels are together, and we're just going to start to lift and lower through that top leg, which should still be our right leg at the top working here. Now I like to keep my hand on my hip. It helps me to keep those hips stacked on top of each other, helps me to avoid rocking forward or back because we want everything nice and stable. But if you're finding that this is testing your balance a little bit too much, you can just bring that hand out in front of you on the mat here as well. After this next one, I want you to lift those feet off the mat. Heels are still glued together. And we're just going to continue with our clam here. So we are working into the side glute. We are going to start to feel it down our IT band as well. And if you find that that starts to feel really tight and sore, just come out for a second, give it a little massage and come back into it when you are feeling ready. All right, so we've got 1 more add-on here. Stay here if you're feeling like this is enough. If you're coming with me, open your clam. Extend that foot out. Now it's not going to be in line with the hip, it's going to be out to the corner of our mat at the front. Bring it back to your open clam, close your clam. Open your clam, extend that foot out, heels together, close your clam. Now it can be really easy when we're focusing on our clams and on our glutes to let that core go. So just want you to take a moment here, check in and make sure that that is still engaged and drawn in as well. Don't rush through this, it's slow, each movement is controlled. That right leg should definitely be burning. Let's go for 5 more. Use that breath, It is your powerhouse. It comes from deep inside our core, and it really helps us to push through these final two. The last one here. Heels together, and we're just going to stay here and hold. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close your clam with control. Give that right glute a bit of a tap out. Final movement here. We're going to open up our leg. We're going to tap our heels together twice, and then our knees are going to come together, toes up towards the ceiling. We're going to tap those knees together twice. Open your clam, tap your heels together twice. Knees come together, foot up to the ceiling, tap your knees together twice, tap your heels together twice. Knees together twice, heels together twice. We're just going to stay here for 10, for 9, for 8, for 7. You've got this. Let's go for 5, 4, last one, I promise. 3, 2, 1. Extend that leg out long. Just a little bit of a shake out through your ankles and through your side waist here as well. From here, we're going to roll onto our back. Let's hug those knees into our chest. Give our back a little bit of a roll out. And when you're ready, planting your feet onto the ground. Feet are going to be in line with knees, in line with hips. Create your diamond with your hands, so thumbs come together, index fingers together. Palms of your hand onto the bony parts of your hip. And I just want you to come into some pelvic tilts here. Very similar movement to what we did in our warm-up with our cats and cows. Just getting our spine and our core ready and protected for the next movements that we're going to do. So giving those legs a little bit of a break, and we're coming into some core work here. As we're doing this, I just want you to take notice of your natural spine. So do you feel more comfortable in imprint position with your back flattened towards the mat, or do you feel more comfortable in this arched position? We're going to try and find our neutral spine, which is somewhere in between those two extremes. Now, what we want to avoid during this core sequence is doming or pushing our abdominals up towards the ceiling. We really want to draw them in, engage them, and work on those lower transverse abdominals as well. Hands come behind our head. We're just going to warm up here with some crunches. So we're lifting our head, neck, and shoulders off the mat. It's not a huge movement. It's slow and it's controlled. Every time we lift off the mat, we're going to exhale and inhale as we come back down towards the mat. Now, we're not going to be here for long. Let's just go for 5 more. We've got 3. We've got 2. We've got 1. Lowering back down and extending those legs out long. Hands are going to come up towards the ceiling. We're going to inhale to prepare, and we're going to, with control, lift those hips and shoulders off the mat, come up to a seated straight position, so our top of our head is up towards the ceiling. We're going to reach over to the knees. Come back up to a seated position, and then gently and slowly roll 1 vertebra at a time down towards the mat. Inhale to prepare. Head, neck, and shoulders lift up off the mat. Hands come up towards the ceiling with a straight back. Reach over towards the toes. Back up to a seated position. 1 vertebra at a time, lowers back down towards the mat. We're going to continue through this movement. It is slow and controlled, and we're trying to avoid using momentum to get us up off the mat. So it takes quite a bit of core control. Our aim is to keep those feet planted onto the mat here. If it's too much, you can come up and have your knees in a bent position, and that will just make the movement a little bit easier here. And if this feels too much, then just regress back to our little crunches that we started, and that's going to be completely fine. Wherever you're working, we're still working on building that core control and building that core strength as well. Let's go for 3 more here before we come into our next move. Last 2. Exhale as we come up. Inhale as we lower down 1 vertebra at a time. Last one here, come up into a seated position. I want you to bend those knees and bring those feet in line with your knees and your hips. From here, hold on to the back of your knees and lean back, finding your C curve. So your C curve is sort of in your lower back or spine here, and it's going to help us to protect our back and also engage our abdominals at the same time. From here, come back up into a straight back, head up towards the ceiling, and then lower back to your C curve. Sit up nice and tall, lower back to your C curve. So coming into a half lean back here, starting to warm up through that core and work on protecting that lower back with our C curve. Now you might find that this is enough for you today. If you're ready to add on this next one, you're going to come back into your half lean back C curve. Your left arm is going to sweep out to the side, eye gaze to follow. And then as you sweep it back, you're going to sit up nice and tall. Swap arms, so right arm as you lean back out to the side, eye gaze to follow, sweep it forward, sit up nice and straight. Now this is a very slow and controlled movement, sweeping the arm back, eye gaze to follow and sitting up nice and tall. Definitely one of my favorite Pilates moves. Slow and controlled, working into our abdominals and starting to get into that side waist again as well. Now, depending on your hips and your strength and range of motion through your hips, you may find that your hip flexors try to take over in this position. And if they do, you can lengthen your legs out long and do this same position with your legs straight. And that might help by taking a little bit of that pressure off your hip flexors as well. Working wherever is best for you. We're going to go for 2 more each side. Last one here. Right arm coming back, coming up. Lean straight back into your half lean back. Hands are stacked on top of each other. And we're just going to touch our elbows back each side. Eye gaze to follow as we rotate through here. All right, we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sit up nice and tall. Hands behind your knees. Lower yourself back down onto the mat. Knees come into your chest and just give it a little bit of a rock out here. One final thing for our core before we go onto our left side of our glutes. Hands are going to come behind your knees, and we're going to come into our rocking or wobbling like a ball. So I'm going to massage our back out a little bit here. It's very slow and controlled, and when we're coming back onto the mat, we're making sure to only come onto the top of our shoulders. We're not rolling onto our neck or our head here. Now you might find that this is enough, a little bit of active recovery and a beautiful massage through your back. If you want to join me in challenging your balance a little bit, as we come up, we're going to try and balance those feet off the ground and then roll back. Roll forward, balance those feet off the ground and then roll back. So we're turning it into a little bit core workout as well. And we're trying not to use that momentum to get us forward, but that core control to stop us at the right moment. Let's go for 3 more. Last 2. Last one, come up and hold. Shins are going to be parallel to the ceiling. You can hold it here with your hands at your knees, or if you want to challenge yourself further, lift those hands, reach them forward, shoulders come back and down, and let's hold for 5, 3, 2, 1. Lowering yourself back down onto the mat. Extend your feet long. Extend your hands overhead. And just take a second here to inhale and exhale. Catch your breath. Hands come behind your knee. Roll yourself up and over into a 4-point kneeling position. A couple of cat-cows here just to get us ready for our neutral spine and 4-point kneeling again. Alright, neutral spine somewhere in between. Core is engaged. It can really help to put your hand on your lower core to draw it into your, sort of like into your spine, up and in. Sorry, Tadson's having a little bit of a moment. We're going to extend our left leg long this time. Right hand down in front of us, lifting and lowering. So coming straight back into testing that balance and that stability, making sure that as we lift, our core stays engaged and that we're not rocking through those hips here. Now if you find that you get any crunching or tension between your ear and your shoulder, and you can bring that hand out to the corner of the mat a little bit more. It'll create length and take some of that tension away. Breathing through, let's go for 5 more here, and then we'll start to open out laterally towards the corners of our mat. We've got 2. The last one, hold up, out to the corners of our mat, wrap around back to the middle, out to the corners, back to the middle. Seems like such a simple move, but already testing that balance, testing that core control, slow and controlled movement. Use your breath. We've got 3. We've got 2, I'm getting the wobbles. We've got 1, draw it into center and just hold. Is your core engaged? Eye gaze down to the mat. We've got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Give those wrists a little bit of a break and come down onto your elbows. Now remember, even though we're down on our elbows, we're pushing out of those shoulders. Our core is still engaged and our left leg is going to come behind us. And we're going to lift and lower in this position here. Now we may feel on this side that that stabilizing right leg and our shoulders start to fatigue and burn out a little bit quicker because we have done all of this on the other side and it's already been worked. I know I'm already starting to feel those shapes come on. Embrace the shapes, it means you're getting stronger, and let's use that powerhouse breath to really get through it. Let's go for 10 more. 5, let's go for 8, 7, 6, slow and controlled. We've got 4, 3, 2, and on this next one we're going to lift and we are just holding here. Shakes are on fire. Embrace them, keep them going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw that knee in, coming back up onto your wrists. Neutral spine, eye gaze down towards the ceiling. Extend your left leg long. Lift and tap it out to the left side. Sweep it up and over to the right side. Coming straight into painting that rainbow up and over our mat. That sideways is definitely getting quite a big workout today. Sort of like a sneaky workout with a lot of these moves here. You using those obliques to help us keep that core engaged, switched on, and avoid swinging or over swinging between the hips as we go through this movement. All right, let's go for 5, for 4. You've got this. My hamstring on this side is really starting to burn. We've got 3, we've got 2, a last one here, bring it back to center. Maybe shake out those hips a little bit, and then that right elbow is going to come down towards the mat to act as a bit more of a stabilizer for us, and also to open up that left side a little bit more. There will be a slight bend into your left elbow as we extend that left leg behind us, toes are pointed, and it's out towards the corner of our mat. Let's go for our lift and our lowers here. Breathing through, you're doing a great job. Slow and controlled does not always mean easier. We're really balancing that stability, or testing that balance and testing that stability through a lot of these moves today. Check in with your core, make sure that it is engaged. We've got 5 more, and then we're going to go for that hold. Let's go for 3, for 2, last one, lift and hold, holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, with control, draw it back to center. Take a little bit of a breather. Reset your shoulders, pushing out of them, no slumping down. They also need to be actively supporting us as well. We're going to keep our knee bent, come out into your fire hydrant, lower back down. Lift laterally, fire hydrant, lowering back down. Now, everyone's body is different, but I know for me, this side is a lot tighter. So actually lifting up laterally is a lot more work for me on this side. So remember, you don't have to lift all the way up to hip height. Whatever your range of motion is fine, even if it's just a little lift out to the side, that's completely fine. We've got 5, 4, 3, and then remember we put those 2 moves together here. Last one, lift, stretch it out to the side, corner of your mat, bring it back to center, knees are in line with each other, close your fire hydrant. open up, extend out, knee comes to center, lower back down. Open up, extend out, knee comes to center, lower back down. Now remember, with your eye gaze, it might suit you to look down at your mat a little bit more. It might suit you to have your head sort of looking out to the side. Just go with whatever works best for you as we push through for these final 3. 2 more, you've got this. Last one, extend it out, hold it there. Little leg circles for 5, 4, 3, stabilizing, right side is shaking, it's on fire. You've got 2, 1, draw it back in with control. Find your child's pose. Deep inhale breaths, exhale here. Catching your breath. Okay, so from your child's pose, we will find our side leg series on the other side. So we're going to be resting down onto our right, either shoulder or hand, whatever works best for you. And we're going to be working through that left leg. So engage your core, lifted up off the mat. Heels going to be planted together, making sure that our hips are stacked one on top of the other here. Remember, hand can be up on the hip or rested down on the mat for extra support. And when you're ready, we're going to start to open up that clam and lower back down with control. Opening up that clam and lowering back down with control. And we want to be making sure that even as we are lifting and lowering our clam series here, that we're not rocking back. Those hips stay stacked on top of each other. And if you find that you are starting to rock back, then just reduce your range of motion and don't open your clam up quite so big there. We've got 3 more here. Last 2. Last 1. Lift those feet up off the mat. Keep those heels pressed together. And we're going to continue to open and close our clam here. Now this may help with that range of motion. So when your feet are down on the mat, if you find that that range of motion for you is really limited, sometimes lifting those feet up off the mat can help with feeling like that range of motion is a little bit greater, and also getting a little bit deeper into that side burn here as well. Checking with your breathing, checking with your core. Let's go for 5 more before we add on to our clam movement here. We've got 3, 2, open your clam, extend that leg long, remembering that it's on a diagonal towards the corner of our mat. Feet come together, closing our clam. Opening our clam, extend it out long, feet come together, closing our clam. Now it's nice to give that shoulder a little bit of a rest here, but that core should still definitely be engaged and drawn in. Let's just check in and make sure that we're not falling down into the mat. We've got 5 more. Left leg starting to burn. Breathing through it though, you've got this. Alrighty. Last 2. Last 1. Extend out, and remember we are just holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, big smile through it, and 1, coming out with control. A little bit of a side tap out here. All right, final move. We're going to open up our clam, tap our heels together twice, knees come together, tap them twice, heels come together, knee open up to ceiling, tap, knees together, foot up to the ceiling, tap, feet together, knee up to the ceiling. So 2 taps forward, 2 taps back. A very deep burn that we're getting with this one. Let's go for 5 more. 4, 3, I promise this is the last one you're doing of this series. 2, and 1. Closing that knee down, giving that top left glute a bit of a tap out, rolling on to your stomach on your mat and push back for that child's pose. Allowing that heartbeat just to slow back down. When you're ready, I'm going to get you to come into a seated position here, facing the front of your mat. Legs are crossed if that is an option for you. If not, they can be opened out to the side. We're just going to lean forward and extend those hands out in front of us. Eye gaze down to the floor and just take a moment here. Inhale, exhale. 1 more inhale, 1 more exhale, and then those hands are both going to come out to the left side of our mat, over our knees. Eye gaze and a body will follow. Inhale, exhale. Drop that left elbow down to the mat. Lift that right hand up towards the ceiling. Swoop that hand out and over in front and bring both of your hands over to the right side here. Inhale, exhale, and then drop that right elbow down towards the mat. Left arm comes up towards the ceiling. When you're ready, sitting back up into your seated position. Close down your eyes. Take a moment to reflect on your movement today. Thank your body and yourself for giving your dedicating your time to this today. Show some gratitude towards a move that your body was able to do, and enjoy the rest of your day.